let's give this another try, this time without the technical glitch. Hi, everyone. I'm Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and welcome back to the Mad Science Lab. We are done with the My Guys series. Took a few days off to go hardcore at the NFL draft, which leads us into the next series, the My Thoughts. Every day, I'm going to aim to have a different analyst on who's going to break down their favorite team and tell us what they think from a fantasy perspective. Today, we have IDP Iggy. Iggy, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Aaron, thank you for having me, man. Glad to be here. Like I said, interesting draft for the Broncos, but I think they improved, and there's a lot to talk about from a fantasy perspective this year.
Yeah, well, we'll get into them in a second. Before we do that, you want to tell us, where you are, where everyone can find you, what it is you do?
Absolutely, yeah. You can find me, my Twitter's IDP_Iggy. Also the co-founder of the Sports Affiliation. You can check that out at thesportsaffiliation.com. And I've been writing for coming on 3 years for King Fantasy Sports, being the IDP lead over there as well. So you can check me out at all those 3 places. Always my DMs are open if you need anything as well.
All right, sounds good. Let's bring up your team here. All righty. Let's start with the Denver Broncos, the first of our series. Like I said, one of these are going to drop every day. I've got them scheduled all the way through till the end of May. Then we'll start a new series. Not much to look at up top. It's going to be Russell Wilson, I would assume. You think he bounces back?
I think they didn't draft a lot of offensive line help, but Sean Payton's going to do everything he can to take care of Russell Wilson. I think he's used to a shorter quarterback, and I think he knows what he needs to do to make success there. So I don't see there's any way Jared Stidham takes him over.
Yeah, I've been trying to get cheap shares of him. I don't think he can be as bad as he was last year. I'm a Saints fan at heart, so Sean Payton I think is going to help him. There is a part of me that isn't 100% convinced. I always think to myself, what if Sean Payton was the result of Drew Brees? Because they weren't ever the same really after. I don't think that to be true. I think he's a very good coach, my personal favorite. But, I think that's the worst case scenario is maybe it was just all Drew Brees and maybe Russ is over the hill and doesn't bounce back. But I've been trying to acquire him pretty cheaply everywhere because I think they do get it turned around. And I think after being overvalued in every draft last year, I think they're going to be undervalued everywhere.
I think that's a correct analysis of it. And yeah, as somebody that went way too much in on Russell Wilson, big best ball guy here. I think I'm still going to try to take some shares of him. So he'll improve. I think Sean Payton is an improvement over Nathaniel Hackett, where, Wilson tried to get plugged into a system. I think Patton will adapt his system. He comes from the Bill Parcells tree, so I think he's a good coach.
Backup is Jarrett Stidham. Nothing to see there. Let's hope he never sees the light of day for fantasy managers, although he did prove to be slightly useful in a couple of games down the stretch with the Raiders, I believe. But that's a contingency plan, so let's hope that never sees the light of day. We'll move on here to the running back situation. This is one where I've been on both sides. I own Javonte, bought him cheaply while he was injured, own him in a couple of leagues, and I'm praying he comes back. But in the same sense, in redraft, I'm snapping up Samaje Perine just about everywhere I can get him. They didn't really I don't think they added anything in the backfield at the draft. And whether it's Javonte, I just don't think he's back up to full speed in time. Javonte, I think he could miss at least a month. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've never been as a big Javonte guy. I just never liked his price. I mean, he's good. He has the talent. Everything's there. Their line got decimated last year. That's why Russell Wilson got hurt. That's why Javonte Williams got hurt. You know what they did to counterbalance that? They brought in Samaje Perine, who's nothing but muscle from like his toe to the top of his head. And he's the all-time OU running back. I think they're going to try to establish the run. I think we're going to see a little bit more out of Sean Payton. He knows he can't have Russell Wilson throwing 35-plus times to have success. So I think they're going to try to control the clock, wear down defenses, and I think Perine has a lot of value, especially if you, let's say, 12th round on. I think
he's almost free.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think, that people – I think he's undervalued because people just looked at the success with the Bengals and like, oh, it's all Joe Burrow. Joe Mixon was, the better running back. And I just don't think he's still got a lot of tread left on his tires. Yeah. So I think Samaje is worth a pickup in your fantasy draft.
I love him, especially in redraft. I think he's going to see at least, I would say, 4 to 6 weeks where he's probably the only dog on the field. And then, everyone's going to say when Javonte gets back, he's useless. But I think Javonte is going to have like a J.K. Dobbins type, schedule to ramp up before he gets up to full speed. So Samaje is going to have a role. And even when Javonte's up to full speed, I can tell you as a Saints fan, Sean Payton loves the 2-back system. Even Mara at his prime was still losing snaps. It carries more specifically to Mark Ingram. So I think Samaje Perine for at least the 2023 season is going to be a great value.
I'm right there with you. He's on the board.
All right, the wide receiver position here. This is a mess. There's a lot of talent, and I think they just cannibalize each other. I believe I just seen as we were starting, the update came across. Did they pick up Jerry Jeudy's 5th-year option? I could swear I just seen that.
Did, yeah.
Yeah? Well, okay, so they have Jeudy, Sutton, and Patrick. I like all 3. I actually was really high on the Marvin Mims, who they drafted, and KJ Hamler and Marquez Callaway have had their uses. Like this, there's a ton of people here.
Yeah, I mean, Jerry Jeudy is just in his 3rd year, and then they have KJ behind him. That was a pretty good wide receiver draft class for them. Tim Patrick's underrated. Russell Wilson has expressed how much he likes throwing to Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick has a really big radius, so he makes it really easy for quarterbacks. If they're not exactly on target, he can go pluck it out of the air. And then Cortland Sutton, that's like living in Colorado. It's like the rumors that he's not happy. He wants to be traded. The Broncos will look for offers for him, but he has a really high salary, actually. So he's not just going to be able to be dished off to somebody. With that being said, I mean, look at this. We got the first Sutton, Patrick, Jeudy, and then we have Marquise Callaway coming from New Orleans, familiar with the system. Marvin Mims Jr., the draft pick, Jay Hamler. Then we have the other rookie, Jalen Virgil, Kendall Hinton, who had time, and Montrell Washington, who could be used as a gadget guy. Let's not forget Sean Payton is an excellent play designer, knows how to use specialty guys, and Montrell Washington has got the speed. He's their return guy. So, I mean, there could be, in a best ball format, you're on your last pick, you don't know what to do. You could look at a 3rd string, wide receiver who could come in and have like a big week. I think that somebody honestly will get injured. I'm somebody that does plan for injuries. It's football. There's a good chance all these people are injured. But I think one of those guys is going to miss significant time. And then those guys in that 2nd string, somebody's going to emerge as the clear favorite to go play the opposite of whoever would happen to be going down. So that's kind of how I see it shaking out. But to pick out who's going to be, I mean, it's Jerry Jeudy, I guess, but after that, you got to, I don't know who you would take there.
I don't know what to make of this. Sorry, as you can hear in the background, I'm having a dog issue because, of course, the second I start recording, there's a dog issue in the other room. But no, I own a little bit of everyone. I'm targeting Marvin Mims in some of my rookie drafts. Jerry Jeudy, I'm probably the lowest on based on his cost alone. I like Cortland Sutton, but he's never healthy. Tim Patrick, I also own a lot of in Dynasty because people were giving him away last year. I just picked him up on waivers to stash, and he may never see my lineup, but he seems to be a consistent wide receiver 3. So I feel like Judy's the one I'm going to roster the least just because he seems to be the most expensive, and I don't think he's that much better than any of the other options. So
yeah, it's a crowded one, and when you go back to the Saints, it's like Marquise Colton, and then who do you have after that? You got Taki. I mean, I just don't know who your second best option is, and I think somebody's going to emerge as a pretty good, probably high end wide receiver 2. More than likely. I don't know that there's a wide receiver 1 on this team. If you're talking about a 12 or 16 team league or something like that, I don't know. I still don't think that I don't think they can produce a wide receiver 1. So just be mindful of that. Somebody's going to do well. I mean, that's just the bottom line. Somebody's going to have 800 plus and 6+ touchdowns, but you don't know who it's going to be.
Russ is definitely the guy, but whether it be running back, wide receiver, or tight end, as a Saints fan, I want to keep one thing in mind. And that thing is that Sean Payton hates your fucking fantasy team. He doesn't care. You will have a different starter every week. Jerry Jeudy will blow up, and then Cortland Sutton, and then Tim Patrick. And right when you think you've got it settled, he'll go to Adam Troutman out of nowhere or Samaje Perine. Every single one of these players will have one relevant week, and then will piss you off the rest of the season, because that's what Sean Payton does. I had Saints wide receivers. I was a Saints fan watching every game, and they'd have guys who have a 100-yard, 2-touchdown game. I had to Google them to see who the hell they were, and they were on my favorite team. So,
right. Yeah, dude, it's it's going to be nuts. And, I guess we'll talk about the tight end position here in a little bit, but I mean,
we're getting there right now. Once again, a crowded room full of people that I've really been high on it. Loved Alberto going into last season. Then they drafted Dulcich. Loved Adam Troutman, but apparently he wasn't being used properly in New Orleans and requested a trade. The fact that he goes to a coach he's played for leads me to believe he's probably going to have a bigger role in this offense than you want to think, which, as scary as it seems, I kind of see this as a Seattle tight end room. What they have last year, Fant, Disley, there was a third unknown guy, and they would all just take turns, scoring a touchdown or grabbing 60 yards. I think you're just going to see three tight ends here. Any one of them could have a decent game at any moment, but none of them are going to be trustworthy.
Yeah, I think from week to week, you're not going to know who the output. It may not even be there. I mean, Greg DeLoach looks good. I mean, he's used as like a split-in tight end, where I'm sure Manhurst is going to be used almost exclusively as blocking. And then, it's so weird for Albert O. I mean, he was highly touted. He was being drafted as a top 10 tight end kind of early in the draft season last year.
And then they drafted Dulcich out of nowhere.
Yeah, and then he's Albert O is now 4th on the depth chart. Like, they got him behind Trotman, they got him behind Manhurst. So that could be interesting too. And Trotman, I think, like I said, there's just an advantage to knowing the terminology, knowing the playbook, knowing exactly where you're supposed to be on these plays. And Trotman and Marquise Callaway have that advantage. So, I mean, if you got an open spot in a dynasty league or something like that, and you're a little low on the tight end, or you need some wide receiver help, you could get those guys. You wouldn't have to put any of your fab up or anything. You could go get those guys for nothing.
This team is going to be frustrating for fantasy. That's what I've gathered out of this. All right, so if you had to pick one target and one avoid, who are you targeting? We'll call it a redraft perspective, because, I mean, dynasty, it's a little easier. You target the younger guys, probably Javonte and whatnot. But for redraft, who are you targeting?
In all honesty, I think my target here is Samaje Perine, because if you can get a good running back, let's just say he gets you to halfway through October as a starting running back, and he gave you 4 good weeks. Like, if he got you 550 total purpose yards and 4 touchdowns, you're not going to be mad at the price you got him at. So I think I'm targeting him there, and I'm avoiding Cortland Sutton big time. He can't get separation. I don't think he has the best rapport with his team or his quarterback, and there's talks about him moving. So I think Cortland Sutton is a big void for me. I don't think he's going to produce the numbers. He's had trouble staying healthy. All those things are big no-nos when you're trying to get a big wide receiver. And honestly, dude, I always target McManus. I love playing with kickers, and he's just that guy playing at home. I mean, he was a little off last year. They didn't get that close. He was kicking a lot of longer field goals, which, hey, if you're in a league that rewards for those points, that's good. But I just think he's always worth the look, because he's not usually one of the top 7-8 guys taken. So you don't have to worry about it at all. And he can go out there and knock you 2 50-yarders at Mile High Stadium, and then you got possibly 10 points from your kicker just like that. So I think I always target him too. That might be a little bit of hometown love. But
you got a kicker into your targets, man. Linda Lyons is going to love you.
I know, exactly right. Yeah,
I was agreeing. I like Perine. He was my target as well. My avoid, I was flip-flopping between Jeudy and Sutton. I never want to pay what Jeudy costs, and I find Sutton is always cheaper. That's why I take him. But with allegedly, if I read that correct, Jeudy just signed. They picked up his 5th-year extension or 5th-year option, and if they did that, it leads me to believe maybe they trust Jeudy a little more, and maybe Sutton's the guy to avoid. But either way, at their current price, I think I'm avoiding the wide receivers. I think I'm avoiding anyone on this team at cost. Like, if I can get a discount on the top 3 here, Russ, Javonte, and Pirine, I'm going to take them. Anyone else, I'm not really interested at cost. Like, what are Judy and Sutton going to go? 4th, 5th round, 5th, 6th round in redraft?
Last year I didn't get any shares of Judy just because he creeped up into like the beginning of the 2nd, late 1st round in some of the drafts I was in. I mean, his hype got pretty high, and yeah, I didn't really have too many shares of those guys last year, to be honest.
Do you have a sleeper?
I think
could be a breakout. I know that it's kind of it's a gray area, which is a sleeper, which is a breakout. So just go with what you got.
Well, how about I think I got to stick to what I said and go with Marquise Callaway. One entry comes up, he could be the starting wide receiver. He was the starting wide receiver last year. He's going to know the playbook, so I think it's somebody you can get on the late flyer. He's not new; he's a veteran, so I don't know if it qualifies, but I think he's somebody I'm targeting. I'm targeting him over Marvin Mims Jr. actually, just because I think the familiarity's there. Sean Payton's going to trust him. He brought him in for a reason.
I was using the same logic on my sleeper, and I think it's going to be Adam Troutman. I was always really fond of him when he was in New Orleans, and he had stretches where he looked like he could be great. Could be a complete total bust of a pick, but anytime a player requests was he traded? Yeah, traded. He was traded. Yeah, and requests a trade to the coach that he just played for. You got to think there's something there, and they've probably had conversations. So I think we're both going with the former Saints on the sleeper. Yeah. All right. Last year they were 14th in the AFC at 5-12. I assume that puts them last in the AFC West. Where do you see them finishing, and how many wins do you think they have?
Man, just keeping it in the AFC West.
Yeah, just the AFC West. I mean, 3rd.
Yeah, I think they finished 3rd. I don't know that they're gonna. First-year coaches have a lot of struggles, even Sean Payton. I like to remind everybody this. No coach has won 2 Super Bowls for different teams. Like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, only quarterbacks to do it for 2 different teams as a starter. No coach.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
That's a lot of pressure. Pete Carroll didn't win in Patriots. Bill Parcells didn't win, anywhere else beside. He didn't win with the Patriots either. It just doesn't, Bill Belichick didn't win with the Browns. Like, no coaches have been it. Vince Lombardi didn't do it with Washington. So Sean Payton has a huge task in front of him. I'm not expecting a lot of success. It's sad, too, because after the Super Bowl, the Broncos never had back-to-back losing seasons, and now we're on a stretch of like 3. This is a big football state. They desperately need the Broncos to be back to lift morale. Even with the Stanley Cup coming to the Avs there, it's still a football state, man. And they got to do something, but I just sadly don't see it. Mahomes is good. I think the Chargers will still be good. The AFC, you got Burrow. You got so many good teams out there. They got a hard pass. So I'm going to call it 7-10 on the season, a slight improvement, a little bit of a disappointment for all us Broncos fans, though.
I was thinking the same thing, 6 or 7 wins. 3rd because the Raiders are going to be last definitively. All right, so we've got the starters on the left here. Do you see anyone on the backup side that you think could force their way into the lineup or that you find particularly intriguing here? Maybe someone where, like, these depth charts, the depth chart I have is just what ESPN put out, right after the draft. There's a few, I think this one, I didn't get too spicy. There's a few where I took some liberties and moved a rookie in. Is there anyone you think they got wrong where maybe, you think Marvin Mims should be in the top 3? Or, like you said, maybe Marquez Callaway replaces Tim Patrick?
Well, I've got to be honest. I don't watch a lot of college football. I haven't seen a whole lot of tape on Marvin Mims. I was happy when we drafted him. I was like, all right, we moved up. We got a wide receiver. I think Sean Payton has something there for him. So I got to say, if you were taking a flyer on Callaway, cool. But, if you're in a dynasty league, don't be scared to grab Mims because he's young. He's got all this opportunity. He was the very first draft pick for the Broncos, even though it came in the 2nd round. Okay, he was the first pick. So I got to say him. There's definitely got to be I don't know much about who his quarterback was in college. I don't know much about their offense they ran there. So coming into this style, I got to go with Mims Jr.
All right. Sounds good. Well, that was the Denver Broncos My Thoughts with IDP Iggy. Iggy, you want to take one more chance here? Tell everyone where they can find you. Plug yourself quickly.
First off, thank you for having me, Matt, tonight. This was fun.
Yeah.
Broncos, man. followed up with all the rest of the series he's got coming in May. And then, yeah, you can find me IDP_Iggy on Twitter, thesportsaffiliation.com, putting in rankings, do a lot of fantasy, do a lot of betting content over there as well. And then, of course, we're getting things ramped up at King Fantasy Sports as well, where I work with Aaron at as well. So,
yeah, I got some work to do there. I keep getting the angry emails. Go in and update your rookie profiles. I did so much all weekend. I didn't have time to put in their landing spots and, what my initial thought is. But I'm off Tuesday, Wednesday. So in between, you're going to see me record an episode and then I'm going to write a profile, record it. I'm going to be busy. My day off tomorrow is going to be the busiest day of the week. So.
Oh, man. Well, have fun with it. It's supposed to be fun, even though it's busy, man. That's the whole point.
Yeah, it's fun. Well, thank you for joining me. It was a pleasure having you. It's the first time I think we've actually got to chat. Oh, no, we've chatted on a couple of the Twitter spaces before, but we've never on video. So
face-to-face, though. You get to see my radio face.
Nice. All right. Well, this has been the Mad Science Lab podcast. I'm Aaron St. Dennis. You can find me on Twitter or any social media at FF Mad Scientist. You can catch my written work at the League Winners, King Fantasy Sports, DLF, and Player Profiler. You can catch my rankings in the Fantasy Pros ECR and catch the Mad Science Lab podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. This has been my thoughts on the Denver Broncos with IDP Iggy. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a good day.